welcome to Time with Alumni. Today we are here in the office of Engineer Poku Agyemang, and we are really grateful because he's made a huge donation to the College of Engineering, a 50,000 Ghana cedi donation. I'm sure you've seen it. If you go to our website, you see it displayed there as a poster. And we'll keep asking for more, like Oliver. And hopefully we know we'll get more. But let's go straight to the point. Thank you, Engineer, for your time.
Thank you very much.
We would like to go straight to the point and ask him, please, if you could briefly tell us about yourself, your undergrad, what course you read, and then we can move on from there.
All right, thank you very much. As you rightly said, I'm Engineer Poku Agyemang, an alumnus of the prestigious College of Engineering of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I did civil engineering, so I did a 4-year civil engineering at the College of Engineering. Then we didn't have the collegiate system. We didn't have colleges, so I was in the Department of Civil Engineering.
Okay.
And it will interest you to know that Professor Andam, who later became the Vice Chancellor of the university, was then the head of the department when we entered in 2001. So I was there from 2001 to 2005. And civil engineering had always been my first choice. I desired to be a civil engineer because as a little boy growing up, my father was in public service. He was the mayor of Kumasi, but he had his own private business. He was a road contractor. And I saw with enthusiasm how he worked with the civil engineers, his civil engineers. So from a very young age, I decided to also go into civil engineering to be able to shape up the terrain of our country. I mean, civil engineers, as you all know, we always provide solutions where there are difficulties. So we engineer our way in the sectors of road, in waste, water, environment. Everything is about civil engineering. Every structure you see. I mean, I always tell my friends who are doctors that yes, you can be a doctor, you save lives. But whatever you use, from your equipment to your operating beds to the structures where the hospital is built, is done by an engineer. And God himself, we all know, was an engineer. You know, I did that. I did civil engineering, but prior to that, I went to the best school in Ghana, Achimota School, which was also known as the Prince of Wales College. So from Achimota, I went to KNUST. But prior to that, I've always been a campus boy. I say that because I did nursery school at University Nursery, did my primary school at University Primary, went to junior high school at University JSS, went to Achimota and came back to KNUST. So the only time I left the shores of KNUST was secondary school. So I know this campus very well, and it's always a joy and great glad to be back to where it all started. So I did civil engineering.
Thank you. So you said you saw your dad work with civil. Do you ever go with him on the field?
Yes, I mean, as I said, he was in public service as a mayor, but his private business was construction company. So days he's free on weekends or during the day, we'll go and inspect most of his projects. So I had that joy. I mean, I was always enthusiastic to learn more about what they did, because I would just see the graders, the rollers, either the steel roller or the pneumatic roller when he's doing surface dress or asphaltic road. And more of his work were in the feeder road. So they will do most of the grading, where they will have a V-ditch for water to. V-ditch is, is like a drainage system. So he do most of spot improvements, grading, and these were all spearheaded by the civil engineers.
And that's what, should I say, tuned your interest
exactly.
in road.
Yes, because I was very close to my father, and when he was doing road construction, I said, okay, let me also learn the intricacies of the game, and that's why I wanted to be a civil engineer.
Okay, so how long have you been with Urban Roads?
Well, I finished KNUST in 2005. Started my service latter part of 2005, and then we did 206 to finish. It's always there. Yes. So when I finished, I did it in Kumasi. When I finished, I was then employed by the Department of Urban Roads. You know what? The national service is mandatory.
Yes.
But when you finish, then you have to be gainfully employed. So I was employed by the Department of Urban Roads in 2007. I remember very well, June 2007. From 2007 till now, I've been at Urban Roads. So I've been with Urban Roads, you can know, for June will be 18 years. So 2027, I'll be having 2 decades at Urban Roads, and I think that's a great.
It's a notable feat.
Yes.
Yes. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
So, just since we have been talking about Urban Roads, are there any notable accomplishments you've made that you would like to
a
talk
lot.
about?
When you start with Urban Roads, there are 3 agencies under the 3 main agencies under the Roads and Highways Ministry.
Okay.
I say 3 major, 3 main, because the others, like the Road Fund, which is all under the Ministry of Roads and Highways. And I'm talking about the ones that a lot of people interact with. There's the Ghana Highway Authority, the Department of Feeder Roads, and the Department of Urban Roads. Urban Roads basically does with roads within the metropolis and municipalities. That's why it's called urban, within the major cities. So urban because you have the towns and cities, and in Ghana, we have the metropolitan and municipal areas. Those are under Department of Urban Roads. And then you go beyond that, there's those that are in the districts. That is the feeder roads. And then also you would have roads that are intertwined or interlinked between several municipalities or several regions. And those are more of the arterials. And that's the Ghana Highway Authority, because they interlink or go through other jurisdictions. The Department of Urban Roads, I started as an assistant engineer, and there were so many activities that I did. But notable among them was when I was made a counterpart engineer for the Eastern Bypass Asukwa Interchange, which is called the Eastern Bypass or Forikrom Asukwa Interchange. The Eastern Bypass starts from Amraga Junction. Yesterday, as you know, there were a lot of woodworkers there. So during that construction, the woodworkers needed to relocate it. They relocated or resettled at Sokoban, where Agence Française de Développement, AFD, built a whole new enclave for them. And they were resettled there. So the Eastern Bypass starts from Amraga Junction all the way to Asokwa, where the interchange is.
Yes.
And then the Lake Road also starts from, where Ahmadiyya is Asafo, all the way to wherever we finished. The first phase ended at Ramsia Presbyterian, like going to Chapate. So that's the Lake Road and that's the Eastern Bypass. So I was made a counterpart engineer. Counterpart engineer because then I was working with the head of it. You come as a counterpart staff to help whoever is here, the resident engineer. Normally, projects of such nature, the client, which will be Government of Ghana, the Department of Urban Roads, would have to employ the services of a resident engineer or a consultant, because you cannot be there 24 hours or every time to supervise. So the resident engineer or the consultant works there on behalf of the client. In this case, the Department of Urban Roads, which is Government of Ghana. So I helped the consultant more about compensation and resettlement issues. One of the major challenges in road construction, especially projects of such nature, has to do with compensation, because people would need to be compensated, paid prompt and adequate compensation before they are resettled. And that is a donor-funded project. I mean, most people were in the right of way in the road corridor. You needed to move them before we could do the construction. And that took a chunk of the time, because if you don't pay prompt and adequate compensation, you cannot be able to move them and do the construction. So I helped. And then there were a lot of relocation from the utilities and services. I mean, there were water lines that needed to be relocated, BCG, then the telcos, Vodafone, MTN. So I helped with all that. And when you are working with a consultant, you work, it's more practical. You have hands-on information. You work with that, and you also have to know more about client-contractor relationship, how letters are written, organizing monthly progress site meetings. So these were them. One of my greatest achievements was as a student or as an engineer was when I supervised the construction of the pedestrian bridge at Tech Junction. Tech Junction didn't have a pedestrian, so there was a traffic signalization where it would turn red for pedestrians to cross and then green for cars. And then under some arrangements with the government of Ghana and the Austrian government, some safety pedestrian bridges were built, and one was built in Kumasi here.
Yeah.
And I supervised it. After that, there were also some asphalt overlays I supervised within campus. I mean, I always say that it is always good to give back to the hand that fed you. Every engineer, it is now that we have other universities in Ghana offering engineering courses, but the mother of engineering, where it all started, was KNUST. And KNUST School of Engineering is the creme de la creme. I've also had great joy in giving back to the College of Engineering, as you rightly said, the endowment fund, which is supposed to support postgraduate education. Most people leave the shores of our country to elsewhere to do postgraduate degrees because there was not the logistics, there was not the need. But if we are able to fund this endowment fund or to donate, it will go a long way to boost people who have rather left the shores of our country. And when they are here, it helps. I mean, you have some brilliant chaps, but because of logistics, brilliant but needed, because they don't have money, they would have to seek sponsorship somewhere. So the endowment fund is something that has come to stay. And I feel proud in donating to the endowment fund. At that time, I think I was the highest donor. And I went further last year when we had a fundraising dinner at Labadu Beach to champion. I was the one leading that case. I did a fundraising to make sure that a lot of people donated because Ghana has developed and Ghana has gotten so much from engineers. Ghana has enjoyed so much from engineers, from all spheres of engineering. So it is good that we make sure that the endowment fund is sustained, to make sure that the College of Engineering is able to train people who would solve a lot of problems are in Ghana. But once we're able to have a lot of engineers, we'll be able to solve it. So these are great moments in my life as an engineer that has really helped shaping my life.
Yeah, no truer words spoken. You have to give back. And you've really proven it, especially with the Alumni Excellence Awards. As you said, he led or championed the fundraising and he helped us to get a lot of pledges from notable people. And most of them are redeeming their pledges. So I guess he's made the call for us, telling you that you, those outside who have benefited from the college, come back and give to your alma mater. But I'd like to ask just one more question before I ask your advice. You've spoken about your achievements, notable achievements. Do you believe that you've said it all right, but give us an example of how the college, the learning you acquired there in the 4 years has actually impacted how you see it? Because you spoke about at length about how the things you did under the contractor. How do you liken that to the theoretical aspect you learned from school?
Well, civil engineering, like all other major courses at KNUST, you do the theoretical aspects.
Yes.
You go to lectures, you write notes, you do mid-semester examinations, and you do end of semester examinations. Those are the theoretical. But beyond that, we all have industrial training, attachment, internships. Those are times you go out on the field to learn hands-on, to know that indeed you are saying that force that you learn is equal to mass times acceleration due to gravity. How are you doing? How does it feel on the ground?
Yes.
You learn that these are soils to technical studies. This soil is good here. I mean, you need to do soil tests in areas to predict that you need to stabilize a certain soil before you can do road construction. You learn it. I mean, you are told that there's clay in the system, this place is waterlogged. So what do you have to do are you using geotextiles? Are you using crusher to stabilize? Those are written. So when you come to the field, that is when you see that, okay, indeed, this is a geotextiles they talked about in the books. So you learn hands-on doing your industrial attachment.
Okay.
KNUST will give you all the theories you need. A bit of practical, because indeed when you're in school, it is incumbent on anybody that goes through the School of Engineering or all other colleges or all other departments to do industrial training. If you would recall, if there's something called civil engineering design, CED.
Yes, I've heard of that.
When you do CED, you are put it into groups where you come up as a group to do a particular project. During our year, we designed a free zones enclave. So everybody had their own thing, from waste to geotechnical to transportation to water. The CED, one of the foremost engineers of our country, very distinguished and celebrated Engineer Safubuache, was our external examiner. He would come and make sure he goes through whatever you design, ask questions. And these are people who were in our country during the early struggle of independence and post-independence. So Engineer Safubuache and every engineer in Ghana would have passed through Engineer Safubuache's hands. He would later form Safubuache and part of ABP Consort now.
Yes.
And all of us passed through him. And those were times that he would really lecture and ask you questions and let you know that the intricacies of the engineering principles, I mean, everything came to play. Beyond that, when I did my national service, everything that you had seen is like putting visualization for what you had done or studied in school.
Okay.
You would have studied a steel ruler that is used for compaction, a pedestrian ruler that's used for compacting small areas. I mean, pneumatic roller, when you would have done your surface dress or asphaltic overlay that you need for compacting. A water bowser, a grader, there's a payloader, a backhoe. These were things that you see in books, or when you came for industrial attachment, you see them, or when you do your service. Every time, and urban roads, when I started, I was made to learn under Engineer Mogofet, who was then the director of urban roads here. This very office was where he was. So you go to the field, they'll put you on a particular project, and every morning you go to site with the engineers here. You see contractors, you see the laymen, the foremen, the laborers, you see the masons, how they are working. You get hands-on. You see how they have not had formal education, but they would have had the practical experience over the years. So you learn at their feet, because we have formal education, they have the practical experience. So it is the exchange of the two. You come, and once you feel the two, it become intertwined, and you know that indeed this is what I have always learned. This is a visualization. So the practical aspects, you learn it during the industrial attachment, your national service, and when you start working, because then you'll be always interacting. It is no more book, because you would have gotten the knowledge, the theoretical knowledge from school. It's always a great joy to practice engineering and to make sure that engineering is what it is.
Thank you so much. So just you spoke about the roads and how it practicalized it for you doing internship and all that. And alumnus made a comment. I want your take on it.
Okay.
So he said that he asked the question, what are we doing with our students, especially the civil sector? Why is it that when the roads gets bad, it's maintenance that handles it? And his opinion was that when it comes to some of these practicalized aspects, they should let students do it. What's your take on that? Let's briefly.
Very good. I mean, road construction, as I always say, comes with a lot of budget. It's huge. I mean, road maintenance, for example, or road construction, you need huge money. I would be glad to see a day where probably third year, maybe from second year students, the college, I don't know the budgetary allocation, but it can always be worked out. Like the way we had funding or grants for KEEP, there's funding for the endowment fund. We can have some funding where students, probably who are doing transportation engineering, there's a center for that. I mean, people do masters there. So even undergrads will be taught that, when there's a pothole, this is the area to cut. This is how potholes are repaired, or they are patched. They are taught, so that as part of their even industrial or as part of their practical aspect, you see them even patching. I mean, the KNUST, I won't even let them go out of the university. It's a huge enclave, so that when you have those things, it's not a maintenance department. The students themselves can do it. Like maybe you go to College of Art students, you see them painting, drawing, and putting them on exhibition. College of Engineering, we can do that.
So
I agree. All that we have to do is that even before this World Bank directive, places like urban roads, highway, had our own maintenance units. where you stockpile material so that when there's a small part, you don't have to advertise, you don't need to give out to a contract. But yet, the World Bank came that you cannot be the referee and the player at the same time. That's why you give to contract. But KNUST, as an institution, can put in some budgetary allocations to the college of engineering that, hey, now we don't think it is prudent for the maintenance department to do. We want our students to have hands-on education before they leave the corridors of our institution. And then they can be doing these auto patches. And even if we do a facility, the surfacing of the area, I mean, if we are doing surfaces or asphalt, there should be, if they have money, should be if it's not large areas, because the whole entire network, KNUST's budget cannot support it. They would need a central government, and that's why we normally come in to do the road there. But the small areas, they can let their students, if there's budgetary allocation, do it, and I support that. When you do that, you let the students feel part that yes, even in university, we're doing these practical aspects, portal patches, and the enthusiasm, the joy in making sure that who are the ones who patched this area, who constructed this road, would let them do it well and sustain, because it is for their legacy. Yes. Posterity will judge them either positively or negatively. So these are things that I support wholeheartedly.
Thank you. So on that note, if you have any advice for students, those already in the working field, we'd like to hear.
Well, students are not in the working field. So for students in the school, I'll do students and then I'll do engineers in the working field. Yes. Students, what else can I say? I mean, I'll encourage you that we've all been students before. You take your books seriously, you take your lessons seriously. When you do that, you become very illustrious citizens of our country. I mean, KNUST trains the best engineers. Yes. And as I said, KNUST is the best university in Ghana and even in West Africa and in Africa. I say that because if you look at the products from when the college was established or the School of Engineering was established till now, we've produced a plethora of great individuals, not only our country, those who've traveled outside, and they've ranged from politics to commerce to engineering to all spheres of life, and to colleague engineers who are in the working field. I urge you to always go back to your alma mater, to always make sure that even if it's a token, you give it to College of Engineering. No money is too small or too big. Whatever you have, let us make sure that we encourage the lecturers and students alike on campus, so that they feel that yes, they have students who've left the shores, but who still believe that KNUST School of Engineering should live and live forever. I mean, it should never die. It should live long. It should produce great engineers. So let us all give back to this endowment fund, to all other projects that the School of Engineering is doing. Not only the constructing roads outside, building structures, bridges, solving water pollution, solving the menace of Galamsey, making sure that waste is recycled, or doing that geotechnical. I mean, we need to go back to the school, the college, and let us make sure that the college stands the test of time, longevity. When we do that, posterity will be able to judge us positively. And the great geometrician will also bless us and make us great.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.